Hey, it's Eric Newcomer with the Newcomer podcast. This week, I have venture capitalist Pejman Nozad, whose venture fund, Pear VC, just raised an insane $432 million fund. Crazy because it is a pre-seed and seed fund that grew up from just a $50 million fund. So we talked about the fund strategy and also his amazing life story. I don't want to spoil it, but we talked about that in the beginning of the conversation. And then we get into the investments in Dropbox, DoorDash, and what he's got cooking next as an early stage investor. Give it a listen. Here's the conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the Newcomer podcast. Very excited to get to talk to you. We were just talking about how you were once a journalist.
Yes, Eric, thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah, I actually love what journalists and reporters do. I grew up in Iran when I was 10 years old. Revolution happened, and then when I was 12 years old, the war happened. So my teenager life was a combination of war and revolution, and I think I look back, it made me stronger who I am today. But I was a soccer player. I was a very good soccer player, and I was playing for one of the biggest clubs in Iran. And the owner of that club had a sports magazine. He started a sports magazine, and I went to German school in Tehran, so I spoke German. One day he came to the training ground and he said, Pejman, you play the game. You have some magazines, German. Why don't you come and translate the soccer articles to Farsi? So I did that, but I realized I can write my own articles, and I started to analyze games. So I made a name for myself when I was like 17, 18 years old. And one of the senior journalists told me that we wanted you to host a radio sports show in Iran, which was the biggest one. So I was 18, 19 years old hosting LeBron James of my country, and then Leo Messi of my country. It was like pretty amazing. So I think that's how my career started, and I became a member of International Sports Press Association. But believe it or not, I went to Germany after I went to university. I dropped college. I served in the army, but I played soccer. So I decided to leave Iran, and I went to Germany because my parents left Iran before me. So in Germany, they gave me scholarship and playing soccer. But my brother, who left Iran when he was 14, 15 years old, and he had this American dream, and he was denied visa for a few years. And this was at the time that it was very hard to get visa to come to US. Even engineers, doctors didn't get it. So one day he forced me to take a train to go to Frankfurt to go to US Embassy. And I went over there, and the consular asked me, why do you want to go to US? I said, I want to go watch NFL, NBA, I'm a sports reporter. And that was true. And then she told me, she said, I don't know why, but I want you to see my country. She gave me visa when I was 22 years old. I came home, nobody believed it. So I took a chance to come here with no plan.
Was it really that random that the visa person sort of got fired?
She interviewed me for 45 minutes. She said, tell me about your life. I went through everything. So nobody believed that I got visa. So I came to US.
For the listener, we are going to talk about the $432 million fund, but your life story is so great that I do want to talk about it for a little bit before we get into angel investing and all the wonky. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, I came, I think in May 1992 to right here. I didn't speak the language. I don't know why I came, because I think I had a more comfortable life in Germany, playing soccer. My parents there, scholarship. And I arrived right here in San Carlos because my uncle lived here. So San Carlos is a town like a few miles from Stanford University. I didn't know what I'm doing. And I was in love with the girl back home in Iran. And I thought, I'm going to lose her. So I started to call her from payphone. And at that time, payphone was like $4 or $5 per minute. It was no WhatsApp, no internet phone. So the $700 I had was gone in a few weeks. So I had to find a job which doesn't require English language. So I bought a 1973 Chevy for 5 payments of $150. And I found a job in San Jose, which was a car wash. So my first job in America was washing cars. And I'm really grateful to the person who gave me the job. He was actually a former Iran's national team player who I knew. And, he gave me this job. But I was the best car washer the world has ever seen, Eric. Nobody washed cars like me.
How do you start selling rugs?
Oh, yeah. So I ended up getting a job in a yogurt shop. My English improved in Redwood City, but I ran out of money. So I asked the owner of the yogurt shop if I can sleep in an attic. I think there's a photo of me out there that I used that attic as my home because I didn't have rent. So I was waking up every morning, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and go to college, studying. One of those nights I saw an advertising for a rug gallery in downtown Palo Alto, right at university, hired salespeople. And, I called because every Iranian thing they know something about Persian carpets, but they don't, like including me. Like every American has an opinion on NFL and NBA and baseball, but not necessarily to play the game.
Right.
And so the older gentleman who owned the gallery, he actually built an empire of businesses in Iran, and after revolution, they nationalized his asset. He came here, started from the beginning. So he denied, but he said, you don't have a sales background. But I insisted that he should meet me. So the next day I went there. He hired me right on the spot. And as you know, I started to sell rugs again. I sold a lot of rugs.
For how long?
I sold rugs for 17 years. But I tell you the story. So for 6-7 years into selling rugs, I realized Persian rugs, you come and say, Pejman, I bought a home in San Francisco or Woodside, and I'm looking for a rug for my living room or dining room. So we start to look at rugs together. And then I said, Eric, I bring these carpets to your home so you can look at it in the house. So by going to people's home, I spend a lot of time with them because, showing 20, 30 carpets takes an hour, 2 hours. So I got to know them, and I realized everybody is the founder of big tech companies, venture capitalists. These are Doug Leone, John Doerrs of the world that you typically cannot see them, but I was hanging out with them and having barbecue while selling carpets.
Right.
And I decided I want to be one of them. I thought this is an opportunity for me, and I was very lucky to have this access. And I became really good friends of them. I asked a lot of questions. This is late 90s when there was no podcast, no TechCrunch, no YC, none of these things. So founders had to go Sandhill Road. Venture capitalists were not leaving their offices. Nobody was wearing jeans. It was a khaki and light blue shirts and it's very formal things. And I actually convinced the owner of the gallery to partner with him because I didn't have money. So we started this investment vehicle together. And I started to put a lot of networking events at the rug gallery. So once I remember, I brought the entire Sequoia Capital senior partners, Mark Stevens, Doug Leone, and I invited 150 entrepreneurs, Persian food. It was just amazing. And
who were you closest to, or who helped you really get the credibility with that crowd?
I think early on was like a lot of hustles. And I think some people who really took a chance on me was Doug Leone. One day he came in and I went a Saturday to sell him rugs in his home. It was very obvious he's a better negotiator than me, Italian background, but we connected, both really good salespeople. And I said, Doug, by the way, I can help you invest in some amazing founders. And, he said, how? I said, I have access to the founders. You can meet them, including a lot of Iranian Americans, PhD at Stanford. Right. He said, okay, I'll come Monday morning to your office. And on Monday or Tuesday. So I made my life mission that I'm ready. So normally we open the gallery at 9. I was there at 5 a.m., made Persian tea, everything came. And I explained that this is my network, and he listened to me. Yeah. And I said, by the way, I think a lot of Iranian Americans, PhDs are at Stanford. I can bring him here. He said, okay, why don't we get together? And then you invite them, I bring my team. So that was kind of the beginning of some of the things and it didn't pay off because I think a few years after, I called Doug and said, Doug, I met this incredible team, 2 guys out of MIT, a company called Dropbox. You should meet them. And, Sequoia ended up being the first investor, and then Dropbox went public.
Did you make the investment, or they invest and then you invest after that?
They both at the same time.
Okay.
So I committed to invest at the round. I put it together as that's a different story, that I called Doug and I took Arash and Drew to their office. And then I took Mike Moritz to their apartment Saturday morning because Mike wasn't available Monday. And then Monday night, they told me, Pejman, be on call. And then after the part of the meeting, Samir Gandhi at that time was the partner of Sequoia. He went then to Accel. He's still at Accel. So Samir Gandhi, me, Arash, and Drew went to this, I forgot, on Union Street, an Italian restaurant. And on the napkin, we made a deal to raise $1.25 billion at the Preseed, and I was an investor.
How did you find Drosh?
I met them at the YC demo day.
Oh, okay.
I met them at YC, but at that time, I think it was like 12 teams. And, I looked at presentation. I said, I can use this product. I reached out to Arash. I said, you speak Farsi? And he said, a little bit. So we made a And actually, Drew has a very funny story of when he came to meet me. He thought I'm a venture capitalist, and he came to a rug store, and they thought they came to the wrong address. But they looked at it, they said, "Oh, this is 353 University, but this is not." And they said, "Okay, we goofed it up, and we missed an investor who can invest." Right. And then, but they took a chance coming. I said, "Well, 353, but we are looking for Pejman." And they said, "No, he's in the back door." And we had a beautiful boardroom with a lot of carpets off it. So the rug gallery wasn't like regular rug gallery. It was like, it just was like a museum.
Do founders get a rug if you get to do a big enough check, or were there rugs part of the deal?
Actually, no.
You try to sell a rug on the side, or like maybe you want to?
No, I'm still selling rugs. If you need rugs, I think you need some carpets for your home yard. Listen, I actually think it's interesting that, founders used to go to these fancy offices in Stanford Road. And then when they were coming to rug stores, one of the challenges was like, how do you prove that you're legit, that you have capital, you can help them? And, I thought, okay, I can leverage this beautiful rug gallery as a way to introduce me, my culture and background. And, Persian tea is very important in Persian culture. So I made sure that the Persian tea setting is beautiful. And it's not like you're putting a tea bag in the cup and the hot water. It was like a setting. And then later on, Eric, people told me, I love coming to your office. I open it up. You didn't ask first about my, market and product. We talk about life and Persian tea. And actually stuck to me that you can always use your differences as a strength.
Totally.
And, I didn't know at that time, people love that.
One of my fondest memories, one of my college roommates is Iranian, and he let me live with his parents for a summer when I was working at a newspaper in Florida. It was the Sun Sentinel. So I would have Iranian tea, every night. It was
good.
I miss it anyway.
Anyway, so we started to make investment. Obviously, we made like terrible investment until, I became very fortunate to meet some amazing entrepreneurs, including Dropbox and then SoundHound and AppLovin and Gusto. So I actually made money. I started to do solo investment, my own capital. And I built a portfolio of angel investing.
Money from the rug business? Or?
No, I made money through Dropbox and other companies that we sold. So I started to do solo investment around 2009, 10. I realized I'm an angel investor, and I look at the cap people. There are few funds have put few $100,000, but founders are left alone right after raising the initial capital. And I felt that there's an opportunity to build an institution to serve founders day zero. The question was, can I walk to a room full of founders and claim I'm your best partner at that stage? And the answer was no. Although I had a great track record, I knew everybody, people knew me, but I never built and shipped product. I never started a startup. And I knew in order to be a very successful institution, I need a partner who has been entrepreneurial. So I reached out to my current partner, Mar Hershenson, who we know each other for 23 years. It took me 4 years to convince her, so I didn't talk to anybody else. The way I know Mar, I funded her husband's company, Danger, in 2000, which he started with Andrew Rubin and later on became Android. And then I invested in Mar's second company in 2003, which is SoulBet. So we became really good friends, family friends. We got to know each other, both immigrant. Anyway, Mar, every time I went over to talk to her and she says, you should start the fund with me. And she said, Pejman, you're crazy. You're not venture capitalist. I'm not venture capitalist. I don't know how you do it. Then I changed strategy in 2012, late 2012. I said, okay, that's okay. Come and meet entrepreneurs with me at Coupa Cafe in downtown Palo Alto. And then she came and provided advice, and she was hooked. A couple of months into it, she was full-time meeting entrepreneurs. So I won. So we started Pear in 2013.
What was the first fund size?
50 million, 50. And I tell you the story about it. But, we are kind of yin and yang. I'm a college dropout. She's a Stanford PhD. I never worked for the tech company. She started 3 tech companies. She has 14 patents. I have 0 patents, but I have a lot of scars on my body. I lost so many of my investment, but I saw companies from garage all the way to IPO. So we started the firm, and the goal was and is to build the best performing seed fund ever existed by partnering with entrepreneurs in earliest stages. So fast forward 10 years, today, Pear is a top 5% performing fund in the world based on the data from Cambridge.
Give us some numbers. We have some savvy people. What can you say on the return?
I can't say, but Fund 1, the DPI is top 5%. So
you're in charge. You can say whatever you want.
No,
you guys together.
You can find it out. So we had 2 IPOs, Fund 1, DoorDash and Garden Health. But we have other companies in that fund that are going to do really well. Gusto, Aurora Solar, Branch, Affinity, and a few others. And then we raised series of fund over there. But today, our investment team have started and sold 10 companies to Cisco, Instacart, Zynga, Yahoo, a bunch of entrepreneurs. In addition to investment team, we built a platform. One of the things we built that is very unique, we built a recruiting agency inside Pear. So we hired Matt Birnbaum, who was the head of global talent of Instacart, and he took Instacart from 300 to 3,000 people. He joined us 15 months ago, and he hired 3 other senior recruiters from SpaceX, Brex, Uber. So we have a team of 4 recruiters on our payroll that if you come to Pear, we hire your people. So that's one of the additions. So we can talk about it later.
Let's talk about the platform thing. I want to talk about fund size and all that first. My first question is honestly, when did you realize, now you're a true Silicon Valley insider? Or certainly by the time you're raising, 400 million fund, you're on the inside. Or when did it really felt like, oh man, I've made it here and I'm part of, Silicon Valley?
I actually think Silicon Valley opened its arms to me without really judging me 20 some years ago when I started to be angel investor.
Yeah.
Think about it, that you are an Iranian American immigrant, you are a college dropout, you sell Persian rugs, and you claim you want to help entrepreneurs. It's just unheard of. So I actually am so grateful to be part of this community. I think when I was able to make some investment, including early on Dropbox, I felt I'm playing a role here. So it gave me a lot of confidence. And after that, I invested. I won many kind of partnership with entrepreneurs that was very hard to get in, including Gusto, Garden Health. This was oversubscribed rounds early on. People wanted to invest, and I was able to partner with entrepreneurs. So that gave me a lot of confidence to do it. But fast forward, when we started the fund, it wasn't easy to raise the first fund because people say, oh, a rug salesman turned to be angel investor and then former founder wants to start a VC firm. That's maybe a sign of bubble. But, I think one of the advantages Mar and I, we were not from the industry, venture capital industry. So we came and looked at the industry and we made changes and we built the firm we wanted to build for founders. And we built a lot of different products and programs and community that still is very unique to the venture capital community. And we can talk about it more. So that was one advantage, but raising the fund wasn't easy. We actually, first I thought we can raise $10 to $20 million because I thought no one gives us money. So we raised money from my network and Mar's network, and few institutions really took a chance on us early on.
Anybody you could mention? Or?
Yeah, I think few firms, they came in, Industry Ventures, University of Chicago Endowments, which is one of the top.
Oh God, they're great. Industry did lowercase's first fund, didn't they? Wow.
And then University of Chicago, which is kind of unheard of. And then we have an amazing endowment in the state of Hawaii called Kamehameha. That's done pretty amazing. Where then a few others came on, like TrueBridge and so on. And then founders and CEOs who helped us grow. And then the model established, then after 50 million, we raised 75, and then 160, and then 400. But the focus and model has not changed since day one. So this bigger fund doesn't mean we want to write a $10 million Series A checks. I think we're very good at finding entrepreneurs early and help them to get to product market fit.
Well, I assume the DoorDash experience was part of the fund size decision, or I'm curious because it was a company that raised so much capital along the way, right?
It wasn't a DoorDash story because DoorDash was happened many years ago. I believe we reached our own product market fit after 10 years. That's what we want entrepreneurs to do. So if you look at today, Pear, we have a very differentiated playbook to find entrepreneurs before anybody else. And I can explain it how it is. And then we build the investment team who can partner and understand what does it take to build product. And then we build the platform team. The size of the fund is all about doubling down on what we are good at it, which is investing pre-seed and seed and follow on. So this fund is about doing more of what we have been doing and writing bigger checks and pre-seed and seed.
So what percentage is like for the pre-seed and seed investments, and what percentage is for doubling down on them as they raise funding?
So our initial check is always pre-seed and seed, but we do follow-on, and we keep over 50% of the fund for follow-on. But that 50% is not a distributed capital. So basically it goes to few
companies. The good ones get the 200.
Yeah. So that has been always the model from fund one to here. So we keep over 50% and we double down on the winners. Like for example, DoorDash, we invested in seed, Series A and Series B, which like Series B valuation was around $600 million at the time that it wasn't really obvious that food delivery, it's a category and people doubt that. And then we had a $50 million fund, which was scary to write. We wrote, actually, this is public data. We wrote $1.4 million checking that round. That even some of our LPs got scared that why are you investing this much at this $600 million? But, when the exit happens at 50 billion, it was kind of a no-brainer, but not at that time.
How did you find DoorDash?
We met them at the YC demo day. And I think I learned from with the DoorDash founders stand that we're the only investor that invested in DoorDash who came to demo day. When we met Tony, it was like, you spent time with Tony and the team early on. It was very obvious this is an outlier team. And we went to their home. They had a home and office. And then on the whiteboard, then they explained the model. But my partner, Mar, went on University Avenue, talked to restaurants, and asked about DoorDash, and everybody said, yeah, we love Tony because he delivers the food himself and he picked it up. And so it was kind of our due diligence there. We brought SoftBank to do the round. Jeff Housenbold was introduction from us. And
when did you raise this the $400+ million?
We raised the majority of the fund last year, and then we started deploy capital fourth quarter. We just did the last closing recently.
I mean, the meme out there is that it's, a tough time. And I feel like the legacy venture funds want to say, oh, all the new investors in particular are going to be challenged. I mean, you're not that new anymore, but I don't know. What was your read on the LP limited partner sort of environment?
Well, I think we are very lucky to have some exceptional LPs who have seen the growth and strategy in the track record. I think that the reason I think we could have raised this one was the model made sense to LPs, and the strategy, the team, the focus, and the opportunity. I think when you do pre-seed and seed, you're immune to the public market. So there are always entrepreneurs out there raising money. So, and if you establish an exceptional brand and deal flow and the team, you can partner with some amazing entrepreneurs early on with the steady pace. So we have never been a seasonal investor. The last 10 years, we just focus on one thing. And the other one, what I learned through this fundraising, some of the larger LPs who have not been investing in pre-seed and seed, they realize this is the category they should have in their own portfolio. Many of them, they're invested in multi-stage firms, and I think pre-seed and seed is covered by them. But now they're looking for a specialist that they can do that. So I think it's a combination of our focus, strategy, obviously track record, and the appetite people have for pre-seed and seed funds.
Okay, so transitioning to the platform strategy in some ways and the services you provide. We talked about Dropbox and DoorDash you found out of YC. I'm curious what your view on, Pear has started doing its own accelerator now, right? Or am I mistaken on that? And just how do you think about, other accelerators? I feel like YC, people are constantly in the panic that prices are too high. Now YC itself is writing these huge checks. Certainly seems hard for pre-seed unless you find it before. Yeah, I'm just curious on your view on accelerators.
Yeah, I think obviously YC has done an amazing job, and we see Y Combinator as a kind of a source of companies for us to partner with them. We have our accelerator, which we changed the name because we do a lot more an accelerator called Pear X. It's a boost camp for pre-seed investments that we do. So we do it twice a year. 10 to 15 companies come to Pear X, and the size of the investment is anywhere between $250,000 to $2 million. They spent 4.5 months with us. We matched them with senior partners. Founders really like it because the cohort is really small. And almost all of our companies, when they come, they haven't raised capital before. It's just like day zero, they start. And then we have a demo day they come and present. But we have had great successes and it's growing. We had Viz.ai, which is a $1 billion company, Noble Credit, Xylus, Affinity came to it. We do this twice a year. We match them with not the investment team, with the platform team also. And in addition, we have the seed platform. I think Accelerator, I just think in the venture capital business, there's not one model that works. You can be Y Combinator very successful. You can be Sequoia Capital very successful. You can be Benchmark very successful. 3 different firms, 3 different strategy, exceptional performances. And I think we have picked our own strategy to what we are good at and what we do. And as long as you become the best at what you do, there's something magical happens.
How would you articulate that strategy, or what is sort of most unique about your approach today?
Yeah, I think being a solely pre-seed and seed focused, build a machine for sourcing. So 50% of our company is now founded by students. And this company is now worth over $15 billion. So when I'm saying $15 billion, at the time that we invested, there were still students in the class. And we have a team working around it. We have multiple programs. And then 50% of our companies are people who are non-students. We build programs for it. One of the programs that we built, we're very proud of it, it's called Female Engineer Circles. This is a program we started 2 years ago for female engineers who are leaving big tech companies. They have an idea. It's a free program. It's highly selective. Every batch is around 30 female engineers. We match you with mentors. We bring who is who in tech. It's a sense of community. You can go raise money from anybody you want to. Over 30 companies have come out of last 3 batches. Sequoia is investor, Anderson Horowitz investor. We invested in 7 of them. We do the same program for PhDs and product managers. So at any given time, we build this community that go over there. But universities, they're very well known. I can say that we are #1 brand in the world inside universities that we find entrepreneurs and we help them grow over there. We have a program called Garage. We select top technical students from Stanford, and it's again free program. For 9 months, you have access to us. We come and we help you build products, not company. But naturally, people start companies there. So one of our companies, Affinity, come from that and a few others.
I have a reporter intern starting later this summer who's a Stanford undergraduate. And one of the things I've tasked her with is, to get a sense of the vibe of the Stanford undergrad startup scene. I mean, I'm curious, to do some of the reporting for her. I feel like the Evan Spiegel days, it was Stanford undergrads were sort of the obsession. Are you seeing still a ton of great startups come out of the undergrads now?
Yeah, I think Stanford, is maybe in terms of versus #1 in terms of any data, but, Berkeley's there, right. Harvard, MIT, and so on. But no, I think we see an amazing quality of entrepreneurs across different campuses. Stanford, the highest in terms of, but there are some amazing, you go to UC Berkeley, it's an incredible group of entrepreneurs going over there. We actually have a business plan competition every year, and we give every campus, few $100,000 for ideas. And we see incredible entrepreneurs over there working on amazing ideas. Sometimes it doesn't work, but they're very committed to the entrepreneur, and we want to build a relationship with them.
I don't have the numbers, but it feels anecdotally like there's a founders are older sense. Part of it is just that the dominant figures in the tech conversation are some of the same people. So it's like Mark Zuckerberg is older now. The Google founders are older, but I feel like, when I first started covering Silicon Valley, there was much more of a sense that the young founders were sort of super powerful in their 20s. But I don't know. Does it like that today, or am I crazy?
No, we don't have that view. We don't look at the age, background. We look for founders who are committed to be entrepreneur. They have a deep understanding in the market. They have insights about the customers that other people don't have. Right. And then differentiated product and technology. And so that matters. So I'll give you an example. We just invested in a company called Hazel. There are 2-3 sophomore students from Stanford. We're using AI for realtors. It's just very simple. So they're actually using AI to eliminate 80% of the tasks that realtors do. That's one thing. We just gave a term sheet to the very senior team out of Google. So it just doesn't matter the age or background. We don't say if you're young, you cannot build a company, or you have to be the second-time founders. some of our founders, most of them, they haven't put a deck together, but some have built products at large tech companies.
You're saying you have an undergrad focus. You're like trying to have great coverage of college campuses, or?
In fact, when I say 50% of our companies are started by students, majority of them are grads and PhDs, business schools and PhDs. We do have undergrads, but there's this notion when you talk to people, especially investors, that you talk about students, everybody thinks they never worked before. But we have funded students who work for Goldman Sachs and Uber, and then PhDs who come to business school. So it's a combination of both.
There's a sense that, the data shows this, like seed and pre-seed prices have been much more resilient than later stage rounds. Like, do you feel like the prices are going to drop and match everything in seed and pre-seed, or how do you think that plays out, and how do you react to that when there's sort of this mismatch in the pricing levels at pre-seed and seed versus later stage?
Yeah, I think prices across all stages have come down, less so on pre-seed and seed, except that you have a very senior AI team. And
AI is a totally different conversation.
It's a lot of hype. So they forget about that. But I think they're still stable. We saw one of the changes I have seen is not the prices, is like the party rounds are disappearing. Rounds where it used to come in 48 hours. You didn't have time to even get to know the founders. And I think it's getting healthier that you have time to get to know founders. Obviously, some of the rounds coming together is still in 48 hours or 72 hours. But I think there's a chance that you can spend time with that, which is very, very healthy. I think Series A is becoming really hard. But again, if you have a true product market fit and a strong growth, still Series A, you get a competitive term sheets from VCs. And if you have a negative unit economics, it's just almost impossible to raise Series A.
Do you ever do Series A's for your companies, or are there ever cases where you do Series A?
The entry check is not Series A, but we invest in Series A and B, sometimes beyond, but we don't write the Series A check. The initial investment, the first check we write, it's either pre-seed or seed, and then we follow on. But the initial check we write, it's never.
If you have a seed company really like it's not raising, would you lead the Series A, or it needs another lead?
No, it's not an expertise. I think at Series A, once you reach product market fit, you need a group of people, investors who have seen growth from the product market fit, just grow, scale the team. That's not expertise. We can still help companies, but that's not the core value we bring to Series A.
I think there's a strong argument that part of the reason prices didn't fall harder in seed and Series A is that, these multi-stage funds shifted some of their investment early stage because they wanted to stay active. And I don't know, how do you respond to the competition, or what do you make of having Sequoias, who you are introducing to companies, or Andreessen's, like in these early stage rounds?
Yeah, we see these firms that you mentioned and some other seed firms looking at the same. It's competitive. What we tell entrepreneurs that, we live and breathe pre-seed and seed. We are specialists in that stage. And we build an investment team, and we build the customized platform for that stage. And this is our track record, and you can reference it and you can see it. But at the end of the day, it's the entrepreneurs who make the decision at the end of the day. I actually think if our business was restaurants, you can go to an Italian restaurant and have a salad, pasta, pizza, branzino, and they're great. But if you want to eat only pizza, the best pizza is at the corner pizza shop that the guy comes and makes dough every day and in and out. Those are the best pizza. So Pear is the pizza shop of the Italian restaurant.
I love it. That's hard to argue with that. If you are this specialized, pizza shop for early stage investing, like what are different services that these early stage companies want and that you provide?
Sure. One is the ability to help entrepreneurs navigate through the market they want to go, and making sure that they pick the right market, is a large enough market, and they find the first 10 customers, hiring the right team, and helping them build the product. And we actually have a playbook written, and even if you go on our website, we explain it how we help our entrepreneurs. So that's where we help. And in addition, I think 10 years ago, when Eric, you were raising money from Pear, he said, Pejman, I need engineers. I was calling my friends and network, and I didn't know how to recruit. But now you come to us and I give you to the talent team, and they give you data. Last 2 quarters, we hired 30 people for our portfolio companies, which is for, multi-stage firms. They have recruiting team, big ones. Not many. I don't think any seed firm has anything in the capacity that we have as senior full-time helping our companies. And I think we're building the same thing for go-to-market, and building the same team for software and engineering and so on. So we are focusing on that. We're expanding our services. And, one of the things I actually think, given what I told you early on, because Mar and I, we came as an outsider, we look at the venture capital world from outside, and we are building a firm for founders, what they want. And constantly we come with the new ideas. So for example, the incubator or Pear X was kind of what we think. And the idea of female engineer circle came about, like thinking about the communities, and we came about this. We're just going to announce a Pear X for AI that 2 of my partners are running it. So it's specific for AI companies, deep technical founders who are solving real problems. So I think we treat Pear as a startup with the core product. The core product is partnering with entrepreneurs, helping them build companies. But around that product, you always want to innovate and come up with the new ideas.
Will it remain 2 core general partners, or with this bigger fund?
No, we want to build the firm that outlasts Mar and I. We're actually inspired by Sequoia, Greylux of the world, that they have a generational partner. So this fund, we have 2GP, Mar and I, but we hire people with the hope that they become and run this firm many years from today.
In terms of like types of companies, like what percentage AI investing are you doing right now? Like, where are the areas where you as a firm are most excited to invest today? Or do you think that way? I mean, you're saying you're doing
No, we are very much founders driven. Obviously, we believe AI revolution is for real, but at the same time, it's so much hype. So AI companies are twofold. They're one, that there are people who are coming with exceptional innovation in this space, and they're building long-lasting companies. There are other companies that they are AI powered, like they're using AI in legal or tax or, consumer businesses and SMB. But our belief is we want to see the future through the eyes of entrepreneurs. So we don't have a set sector to look at it. Obviously, activities in AI these days, it's tremendous, but we look at healthcare, consumer, fintech, climate tech, and so on. One of the things worth mentioning, Eric, that Pear is a generalist firm, but we have partners with deep knowledge and expertise in each sectors. For example, Arpan Shah was the founding engineer of Robinhood, and he sold the company to Plaid, is leading our fintech. Our biotech investments is led by Eddie El-Touhi, who took one of our biotech companies public as a head of biz dev, and he has a PhD in bioengineering from MIT. So we have the deep experts in that sector that can help.
Have you found any former rug salesmen to come in, or how do people replicate that? How? I feel like it's heartwarming to hear the story of somebody who really like fought in, but then you go to hire, you still like, oh, let's get the PhD or whatever. Have you found other cases where you've been able to identify somebody without the sort of conventional background, and how do you do that?
In our team, we have never hired a former investor. Everybody in our firm has been a founder and operator, and they come and they get trained. So that's kind of the culture that we have at Pear. I look for myself into people who are optimists and everything is possible. I think if you set your heart and mind, you can do these things. So that DNA, I'm actually very excited to meet people either hiring in-house or partnering with entrepreneurs. So part of my job is just getting to know the founders early on. Why you? Why now? There's not much we can do because there's no customer to call. Most of the time, there's no product, maybe prototypes. It's getting to know the founders, and the ability to explain the market and the vision is very important when you do pre-seed and seed.
I wanted to go back just to the fund size thing for a second. I mean, with DoorDash, like there was pro rata like that you could have exercised if you had more money. I mean, obviously you were saying before that you already made the tough call of investing at like 600 million. There were lots of tough calls along the way where people were agonizing about the prices. And there was also like a lot of dilution. How do you look back on the pro rata, obviously knowing how it all works out, and and with this new fund?
So I think it goes back to the relationship we built early on with the founding team. So the reason we invested in the Series B of DoorDash wasn't because we get so much information from the founding team and the strategy, who they are, and the relationship we built with obviously Sequoia and John Doerr came on board. If we had more money at that time, we would have invested in future rounds. By the way, we are maybe the only kind of the smaller funds that we never sold any shares till IPO. I don't know who sold, but we didn't. And imagine a $50 million fund.
Oh my God, I would have sold. That's agonizing, terrifying.
We could have sold at 2 billion, 5 billion, 10 billion, 20 billion. Long before going public, we could have returned the fund multiple times. So we didn't do it.
You didn't sell anything?
Nothing. Not one
Were your
single
LPs
share.
like trying to kill you, or like?
They were asking questions, but we were very firm that we're not going to sell it. And, we obviously exited at the huge valuation when they went public. But it tells that how we run the firm and how we look at companies. Even, we have a company called Banta, which is a leader in compliance software.
Banta? Yeah, Vanta's like a great sponsor of this podcast. We love Banta. I had Christina on my second episode of my original cast. So
yes,
Banta fan.
And then Series A was done by Sequoia, and last year crafted at multi-billion dollars valuation. We wrote the biggest check ever from Pear into last round, which was normally you don't do it.
I feel like students of seed fund economics would just say, like a bigger fund is just so much harder to return. The beauty of a $50 million fund is that one great investment can, more than return the fund. Do you worry that with a $400 million fund, you could land like a historic investment and still, doesn't mean you're going to get top returns again? Or how do you think about what needs to be done to return a $432 million fund versus a $50 million one?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I wake up every morning and I think we're going to go out of business by end of the day. So that's the mentality. It doesn't matter you have $400 million or $4 million or $4 billion. So I think I want to stay on my toes and my team that DoorDash performance or garden health doesn't mean anything about Fund 4. That's gone. So there's no guarantee. If you don't perform, Fund 5 might be very hard to raise. So we need to prove this model works. So with this fund, we're doing more pre-seed investments. We're going to do 20 to 30 pre-seed investments and 10 investments in seed, 10 to 12. So more companies a year. One of the things we realized Fund 3, we do an amazing work to create a deal flow. And we were meeting, senior entrepreneurs who were raising $3 to $5 million seed, and we were not able to lead those rounds in writing $2, $3, or even $4 million. So this fund allow us to lead those seed rounds, which we already have done in Fund 4, and they're all in stealth mode. So it's a combination of doing more of what we have been doing and, writing bigger check in some cases and own more of the companies. And I think at the end of the day, this business, it's all about your outliers. I think few companies can return, but I think now we can own more of the companies early on and more shots at the goal with the bigger team and the platform team and established brand. Having a bigger fund doesn't mean anything other than a bigger responsibility to return if you want to be a top performer.
How easy or hard is it from the inside to tell which of your portfolio companies are winners? Or like both for yourself, and I'm curious, I'm sure you've looked at other firms, like the judging the sort of, I don't know if you call them opportunity or wherever, like carry on investments, like what's the track record on those things? Like, have you doubled down on the wrong ones?
Yeah, the first sign is the quality of the people that the team is hiring. Once you see exceptional people, either engineering, sales, and marketing, joining a team, it's a very, very good sign. Historically, if you look at data, most of the companies, the quality of the people who investors who come Series A, it's a combination of what type of talent this founding team had attracted early on, and then the type of the investors you can bring in Series A it's a big indication to me. There are some exceptions. Companies have hiccup, they can raise Series A from top tier VCs, they come back. But, the combination of the quality of your hires and investors is always telling.
Cool. Well, I think this might be my last question, unless there's anything I missed. What are the next DoorDashes? Or tell us about a couple of fun portfolio companies that maybe aren't on people's radar that get you excited about where Silicon Valley is right now.
If you know the next DoorDash, tell me. I'm going to go anywhere in the world they are. No, I think our companies we invest so early. It takes like 3-4 years to be where they are. So I think our funds are very young. But I told you about Fund 1 that I think is doing really well. Fund 2, we have some great companies, Banta included. We have a company called Xylus. It's 2 professors from Duke who actually went to Pear XR incubator that they found a way to detect cancer very early. And then we have Nova Credit.
What's Nova Credit?
Nova Credit is actually for immigrants bringing your credit score to America. They're growing very fast. And then Fund 3 is so early to talk about. But we made some great investment in Fund 3, in great companies, including some AI companies. But it just, I don't know.
Well, I'm not saying which ones are winners, but you got.
Yeah. But I think it's all over the places. One of our companies is going to announce a Series A that when we invested, there were still students at Stanford. And believe it or not, these people are building the operating system for weather around the globe by sending balloons. It costs only $300. It's just crazy. I mean, when we invested, it was like a science project. So today, when hurricane is going on, they send a plane inside up there to take kind of data, and it costs like $60,000 per flight. They built the balloon for $360, send it out there, does the same thing. And now the idea is just sending all these balloons around the globe and collect all the data, and then weather data, which is very valuable for hedge funds, for farmers, and so on.
What's the company called?
Wingborn. So did I know this company? No, but one of the most difficult things when you do Preseed, it's can you detach from your belief and see the world through the eyes of entrepreneurs and then truly believe in that. That's why not many people invest in Airbnb and Uber of the world, because people have set up mind. And then venture capitalists, they believe they're very smart. They know the world. But I think entrepreneurs know the world. They're the ones who are building future. We're just servicing them.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Eric, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much. That was my conversation with Pejman Nozad. I'm Eric Newcomer. This has been the Newcomer podcast. Thanks so much to Riley Kinsella, my chief of staff, Tommy Heron, our audio editor, Young Chomsky, for the theme music. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Please rate, review on Apple Podcasts. And of course, most importantly, become a paying subscriber to the Substack at newcomer.co. We really appreciate your support. See you next week. Thanks so much.
Goodbye. 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 Goodbye.